Here we go!
Hey you Blue Blurs, what is going on? This is GamerBlake90, here to present to you all another showcase video for my ongoing coverage of Sage 2020. And this one will be for an exclusive Sonic fan, well not exclusive, but unique Sonic fan game that is available exclusively on your web browser, and that is Sonic 3D Blitz. Now unfortunately Sage is almost over this week, but you'll be pleased to know that every submission that's been sent over to Sage this year will still remain available for download at SonicFanGamesHQ.com. So over the coming weeks, I'll be pulling as many Sonic-related entries from Sage as I can find to show off to you guys. And it'll be a long series considering the number of Sonic entries this year was quite high. In fact, the overall number of entries sent into Sage this year totaled around like 200, I want to say. Many of which also weren't Sonic-themed, which was incredible. As was the fact that the Sage website crashed from millions of visitors trying to access it all at once. That was just insane. Eventually they got the site working again consistently, so it wasn't a total loss of the week, but all the same, congrats to Sage for a successful 20th anniversary, and I hope you all enjoy the content that is to come concerning Sage. Anyway, we'll be checking out Sonic 3D Blitz, which is available exclusively on your web browser, as I've just said, but that does come with a drawback of having only keyboard controls to work with, as controller support is not available for this game, which is unfortunate, especially considering you will find the keyboard controls to be highly uncomfortable, especially given the game engine we're using here. But one of the good things about 3D Blitz is that when you start the game, you're given a quick tutorial at the top of the screen as to how to control Sonic, who is the only playable character in this game, by the way. You have the arrow keys to work with, the A button for jumping, and the S button for rolling after you obtain some momentum on the ground. But if you press the S button while you are in mid-air, you will perform a ground bounce that's very much like that of the ability seen from Mighty in Sonic Mania Plus. And unlike Mighty, you can do the ground bounce in rapid succession. So if you happen to like shaking up the screen to your heart's content, go for it. It's an entertaining gimmick. Anyway, Sonic 3D Blitz is a game that is essentially a hybrid of Sonic 3D Blast and SegaSonic the Hedgehog, but way more so SegaSonic than 3D Blast, although there is one reference from 3D Blast right here, as these badniks are featured in that game. Pretty cool, huh? Some of the badnik models are left as they were from 3D Blast, others were recolored for the purposes of 3D Blitz, interestingly enough. And that's how the game works. It follows a diagonal layout, so Sonic can only move in diagonal direction, as opposed to the cardinal directions that you're familiar with. So this will make his controls very, very awkward to you. You'll probably have a similar challenge if you were to use the controller instead, but you would no doubt have an easier time with the controller all the same. See, with the arrow keys, if you press down, you'll go to a lower right as Sonic. If you press up, you'll go to the upper left. If you press left, you'll go to the lower left. And if you press right, you will go towards the upper right. So, a little tip for controlling Sonic, pay careful attention to the direction that he's already facing, and then plan your next bit of movement from there, as that will essentially be your guiding point. Again, you can only move in diagonal direction as opposed to cardinal direction, but like before, you can press two arrow keys in combination to have Sonic move in a direction in between the diagonal directions. And you'll mainly be doing that when you move along linear sections like this that involve hazards, such as spiked beds. Like you can already see, I'm basically moving toward the left and right to weave through them, while keeping my momentum. It'll take a lot of practice to get used to something like this with Sonic 3D Blitz, especially with keyboard controls, but luckily for me, I've had a decent number of practice sessions before firing up my recorder and throwing in the commentary, which hopefully is as polished as my gameplay. Another thing to note here. If you run into the wall after obtaining a good amount of momentum, Sonic will backflip off of it and then return to a neutral position. And while he is in an animation, you cannot control him, so you can't cancel out of it. This could be bad news if you run into walls while nearby hazards, especially bottomless pits, of which there are a lot in this game. So be very, very, very careful that you don't run into walls while you're moving through sections that involve bottomless pits, as that could mean a lost life. And yes, similar to Sonic 3... I almost said Sonic 3DS, but similar to Sonic Generation 3DS, Classic Sonic here has the ability to use his modernized counterpart's homing attack, but only against badniks that are directly located above bottomless pits, including the ocean bed right there. On grounded enemies, he cannot use the homing attack, so essentially only on airborne enemies, and he also can't use it on item boxes or on springs like his modern counterpart can. It's only on airborne enemies, and that is especially helpful for getting across sections involving bottomless pits, so do keep that in mind, because you won't get to go too crazy with the homing attack here. Anyway, the first stage here is called Sunrise Shore, and look at that, we got ourselves an extra life from playing so good on this first stage. I can already feel the practice paying off, and I'm not normally the kind of guy that's comfortable with keyboard controls. I prefer a controller all the way for just about everything, but practice does make perfect, and even with keyboard control that's no different. So anyway, here we have Searing Sands, which for some reason uses the Collision Chaos present-day soundtrack from Sonic CD, and as you heard with Sunrise Shore, that used a Good Future theme for Palm Tree Panic from Sonic CD. I can't say I understand the decision to use Collision Chaos' music for a desert-themed stage, as I was expecting more along the lines of, like, say, Sonic 3 Sandopolis, or Sonic Mania's Mirage Saloon, but what have you. It's a desert-themed stage that will involve these cacti. Do not run into these, as they are makeshift spike beds, or you could find yourself in a world of trouble. And some more 3D Blast badniks. Let's take care of those guys real quick. Now, as you might have already realized, the level layouts, the controls, and the aesthetic of Sonic even, are all derived from that of SegaSonic the Hedgehog. So Sonic 3D Blitz is basically a love letter for a highly underrated entry in the Sonic series, and part of why it's so underrated is because it was initially an exclusive title reserved for the Japanese keyball arcade machines. I have heard a rumor though that it was going to be featured in the Sonic Gems collection back in 2005, but because of a difficulty in translating keyball controls into console controls, that project was ultimately scrapped, which is unfortunate because I most certainly would have loved to experience SegaSonic the Hedgehog on console, as it definitely introduces a very refreshing take on the Sonic formula, a unique one as a matter of fact, because in the original SegaSonic, you were forced to always be on the move, as if you took way too long to stay consistent throughout the stage, you would eventually get swallowed by approaching hazards and die. You couldn't sit still for too long and appreciate the aesthetics of the stage. You always had to stay on the move, or you would be in quite a bit of trouble. But in this game, you are not under such pressure. You can explore the stages as freely as you please, but the traps do feel just as overbearing as they did in SegaSonic, in particular these bottomless pits that involve the moving platforms. And the Spike Ball was done us no favors either. But fortunately, we have the Sonic 3 elemental shields to aid with our progress, and they do allow us access to certain sections we otherwise wouldn't be able to get to. In this case, the upper ledge seen here in Searing Sands. I actually hadn't known this was a thing up until like my last recording of it, which I ended up botching because, well, I should probably explain how exactly I'm recording this footage. I generally do so using Streamlabs OBS, and I also have a webcam typically included in my footage, but given my low-end specs for my PC, there are some entries in stage that I will struggle to cover, and unfortunately this was one of them. But I think in this case, it's because the Google Chrome browser uses up so much CPU on my PC that it was causing quite a lot of slowdowns here and there. Well, mainly in the fourth stage, not so much in the first three, but we'll get to that later on. Furthermore, because of all the frame rate drops, it made no sense to record it using Streamlabs, so I switched to the Xbox Game Capture app to alleviate that issue, and also lost my shield entirely by accident, but it lasted just long enough for me to get a couple more extra lives, so we are now sitting comfortably on 6. So I'd say my chances of beating this game in one sitting are pretty high right now, although I have yet to actually beat this game. The furthest I've ever gotten was the 4th stage, and then I got a game over there due to a, well, gimmick, as there will still be a number of bugs in this demo that you will have to be wary of. But all the same, despite that it's a web browser exclusive, it's a pretty fun game once you get past the difficulty level that belies the keyboard controls. Once you get over that little obstacle though, this game can feel quite fun. Though I still would like for them to consider controller compatibility and making this game a downloadable file as opposed to a web browser exclusive, so it'll be more accessible to people everywhere. In any case, we're doing just fine with Searing Sands right now. I would love to keep that electric shield, but we've overcome it all the same. I'm not quite sure if elemental shields will transition in between stages, however, but we may get to confirm that later on. And also, this area map here, it was also inspired by SegaSonic the Hedgehog, and you will see it as you transition in between levels. Right now we are here at the Pumpkin Panic stage. And while on the subject of the stages, they are decently sized, despite having only one act each, as this Sonic game is one of very few that doesn't follow the typical system of having multiple acts per zone. So essentially, every stage is one act. But now that I've lost those rings, this would be a good time to touch upon the high difficulty curve for this game. Your number of iframes that you are afforded upon getting hit are very, very minimal, so you are left with little room for error. And what makes it worse is that after you lose your rings from getting hit, you cannot pick those same rings back up at all. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but seeing as you can't pick them back up, you better hope there are some fresh rings nearby where you got hit or you could be in trouble. And speaking of trouble, I did not hit the brakes in time to avoid falling into that pit. And again, there are a lot of bottomless pits, so I really hope you are good on keyboard controls, or you're going to be spending a lot of lives just beating this game. And right now, the extra life output does not feel all that generous, though it seems different in this instance because I practiced the first two stages reasonably well enough that wasn't so much of an issue. So hopefully that holds up. Like I said, I have yet to beat this whole game. The first I've gotten was like the 4th stage, which is beautiful by the way, and it quickly became my favorite the first time I laid eyes on it. Which was, well, tonight. I've been taking repeated takes trying to get my gameplay polished up for a fully fleshed out showcase, while instructing you guys bit by bit as to how this game goes and how you can better manage it should you decide to try it for yourself. And if you are curious about playing this game for yourself, I will link the webpage in the description below so you can visit it and check it out for yourself. But again, be advised, no controls are allowed here. You'll have to make do with keyboard controls, at least until they decide to consider a future update, where that is a different story. So far though, we're doing just fine. By the way, the soundtrack heard here is from the Hanging Castle stage in Sonic Heroes. And I was kind of expecting the Pumpkin Hill theme of Sonic Adventure 2, as this stage is called Pumpkin Panic, so it would definitely be fitting, but Hanging Castle works just fine too, cause it does follow a Haunted Mansion theme, which is close enough to Halloween. I don't know who on the Sonic 3D Blitz team decided to be generous enough to give us a homing attack, but I would like to thank him for that degree of consideration, because I might have found it hard to traverse these empty abysses otherwise. Speaking of empty abysses, I fell right into one like an idiot because I hit the brake at the entirely wrong occasion. Oh boy. As far as braking in this game though, you skid a fairly considerable distance before you go in the opposite direction, so for sections involving platforms, I would be very, very careful trying to hit the brakes. Or slowing down way too much in this instance, as you could get knocked off. There aren't that many platforms that have bad nicks on top of them, but this happens to be one of those special cases. And I'm messing up quite a bit, so I'm sorry about that. See my life counter, I've already spent 3 lives, so this is not encouraging. Fortunately, this is one of those fan games where your life counter could read 0, and you would still have one more chance at life. So, if your life counter hits 0, you'll have one more opportunity to play this game, but if you do die after that, it is a game over. Luckily for us, there is a continuation system in effect, where you can pick up from the last stage you played as you'll have seen in the title screen, I'm sure. So again, generous of the 3D Blitz team to have considered that option. I love that. Also, those retractable wall with spikes at the very end, reminiscent of Sonic 2's Mystic Cave. And luckily for me, I played Mystic Cave enough to be ready for that gimmick, although at first I wasn't, because I didn't expect to see it. After a bit of practice though, I've gotten accustomed to it. Now, up until now, we've had those spiked gates causing all of their spikes to protrude all at once. But now in the case of these next gates we're coming across, they will be varying their pattern, so be ready for that and be ready to respond accordingly. And luckily for me, I've been well prepared enough thanks to all of that premature practice that we made it past the 3rd stage of Pumpkin Panic, and now we got Polar Paradise. Bro, this soundtrack and this stage of presentation, can you see now why this is my favorite stage already? This is absolutely ethereal, dude. Although I say getting pelted in the face by a snowman, or coming close to it rather, won't be so ethereal, but wow! Polar Paradise is absolutely breathtaking to play through. It's kind of a challenging stage, but it is breathtaking, especially for the music. I think this music came from the 3D Blast as heard on the Saturn version, but I never played Sonic 3D Blast on Saturn, although I did get to play Sonic 3D and 2D by Sodanuk, which had the Saturn version soundtrack for that game, so I was able to experience the soundtrack for the first time quite recently, and I've fallen in love with it, like, madly. I never ever want to go back to the Genesis version now. And don't get me wrong, 3D Blast Genesis is certainly not terrible by any means, in fact it's very enjoyable, but Saturn just knocks it clear out of the park, bro. Especially with the environmental presentation and the choice of soundtrack. Now, unfortunately, there will be some frame rate drops on this stage, considering there's a lot of factors at work here. And again, I have a low-end PC, so unfortunately I expected this to happen, but hopefully it'll let up the further we get through the stage. But if not, well, I'm sorry. Like, very, very sorry. Okay, a lower section. Those walls push us off to it. Come on, game, pick back up, pick back up. I hate this lag. Sonic is known for going much faster than this. Well, this isn't 100% fast. I even tried switching off of the Google Chrome browser in favor of using a different browser so that it wouldn't use up quite as much CPU. And, okay, now we're getting back to a more steady frame rate, so we should be fine now. I guess the Switch did help some, but I wouldn't say it was an end-all, be-all in my case. Alright, these you have to spin right on through to break the ice. Like that. And as a friendly reminder, press the S key while rolling and you will perform your roll. Press the S key while running, excuse me. Good God, I can't talk tonight. Alright, after that little mishap, we should be doing good. I would be very, very cautious about jumping on these blocks of ice, as that will lead you to either a lower section, or worse yet, a death gap. Not in this instance though, because we're taken to a lower section where we can progress through the stage, but later on it will be a different story. And this would be exactly what I was talking about. If you jump here, not only will you break through the ice, but you'll also die. Also, wait a minute. Why am I not collecting these rings? What is this? This is weird. Ah, what the heck? Why is Sonic not picking any of those rings up at all? I don't know what's going on here. Oh my god, this is where my discomfort with the arrow controls comes into play. But thankfully, we made it through that just fine. And there's a bubble shield along with a spring we can take to get all the way over here. And we have ourselves some comfortable ground to stand on. Literally and not literally. 10 rings to be ready again. And there is a bubble shield, which you can use for a bounce jump, it looks like. But unlike in the typical Sonic classics, you cannot just simply double press the A button to perform the bubble jump. Okay, seriously, why am I not picking up these rings? This makes no sense to me at all. I don't know what's going on here, but as I was saying, in order to actually perform the bounce jump associated with the bubble shield, you have to time the second jump input correctly, just as you land on the ground. What in the world was that all about? Okay, now I'm picking up rings. But seriously, I had no idea what was going on throughout the entirety of that last life. It made no sense. Whew, I almost jumped to my death there. Because you break these blocks of ice, that is an instant death, like I said earlier. So I don't know why I even jumped there, but that could have ended so much worse. Alright, I'll take the spring again. And we have the bubble shield back, and just to show you, to bounce with it, you simply press the jump button just as you land back on the ground to bounce off of it. But I'm not really seeing the use that there is with this, to be quite honest. Besides maybe doing a continuous jump, but what's to stop you from already doing that with a standard jump exactly? And I highly doubt that using the bubble shield will save you from falling to your death if you land in a bed of water, because those are basically empty gaps. Unless there are actually underwater sections in 3D Blitz that I'm not aware of. Alright, what in the world just happened there? Twice now I tried to attack that badnik, and there was no collision at all. I just fell to my death. What in the world was that all about? I don't get it. I don't get it. Might be something that the 3D Blitz team will have to look into fixing. And speaking of the 3D Blitz team, they do have a Discord server open for those willing to follow development on this game. And you will find that Discord server linked at the very webpage where you can play this game. And again, I'll have that linked in the description below if you would like to give that a look. Do I want to try spinning through here? Actually, no I don't, because that's a higher ledge, and that will accomplish nothing except making blocks of ice falling on top of me and leading me to my death. Can I make this jump all the way? Nope. Well, we seem to have a serious problem on our hands. I don't know about this section I'm going to be able to make it through at all. And like I was fearing, we're about to get a game over because we're down to 0 lives. And of course the frame rate slowdown is, well, back. Huh? Am I not dead yet? I'm actually not dead. Are you serious? Must have been because I broke through an entire row of ice all at once, and there was none to fall on top of me and crush me to my death. But I don't know I'm gonna be able to get out of here now. I cannot believe that I actually saved that. I was so sure that would kill me. Sonic Blake's clutch factor coming into play here, ladies and gentlemen. And then I go and run to a better spike like a moron. And again, right on the very corner of it too. That's weird. Alright, clearly I need to figure something out here. We've made 3 attempts to bounce off that bad dick by now, and none have worked. Can I somehow make this jump? I don't know if I can. Nope. So if I can't hit that bad nick, exactly what am I supposed to do? Might be that one part of the stage where I just can't go past it at all, so hopefully the makers of 3D Blitz will have answers for me. Anyway, I'll be right back. Well, all things considered, I'd say I made it through a decent length of the game at the very least. I still don't know what was going on that particular bad nick at Polar Paradise, but again, I hope the 3D Blitz team are seeing this and may have some possible solutions for me, or they'll have an update in the works to fix that. Regardless, this is a pretty enjoyable game, and I hope you all will give it a look-see for yourselves. This has been my showcase of Sonic 3D Blitz for exclusively the web browser, and hopefully as a separately downloadable file later on in the future. Because again, that would make it more accessible in my opinion, but they may have their reason for going the route of the web browser exclusive. We'll see though. I hope you all enjoyed the showcase, and I will see you all when we continue my coverage of Sage 2020. If you like what you saw here, the best way to let me know is with your likes and comments. Leave those down below. And if you want to keep up my content, hit that sub button and ring that bell. Because as I said, tons and tons of Sage showcases to come in the weeks ahead of us. And of course I'll be updating my ongoing playthroughs with Sonic Colors and Sonic Robo Blast too. Sorry for lack of a webcam, but that's probably for the best when I'm recording this at night, and whenever I do so, my face is half covered in light and half covered in darkness, so it kind of makes me look like Gil from the Street Fighter series. And if y'all got that reference, you clearly play fighting games. Props. In any case, once again, I hope you enjoyed my Sonic 3D Blitz showcase, and I will see you all next time. Until then, peace. Blue blurs for life. Take care.